The film opens in a college classroom where Gary Johnson is delivering a lecture on Nietzsche. A student interprets the philosophy as encouraging people to take risks and put themselves out there. Gary agrees, but overhears another student mocking his car, making him realize he hasn't truly been living that way himself. Gary narrates his quiet, solitary life with his two cats, ID and Ego. In his free time, he assists the New Orleans Police Department in sting operations targeting people seeking to hire contract killers. Normally, undercover officer Jasper takes the role, but after being suspended for assaulting teenagers, Gary is asked by detectives Claudette and Phil to step in. Nervous and fearing for his safety, he reluctantly agrees. Taking on the alias Billy, Gary meets the suspect, Craig. To the surprise of the detectives monitoring him, Gary transforms into a convincing, menacing hitman, fully embodying the role. Once Craig explicitly orders the murder and hands over the payment, police move in and arrest him, leaving Claudette, Phil, and even Gary himself impressed by his unexpected talent. Gary continues to successfully take down more and more would-be killers, adopting a variety of hitman personas tailored to each client. His disguises and performances are so convincing that he is occasionally required to testify in court after some defendants claim he entrapped them into murder plots. While most are convicted and sentenced, others, such as a woman who tried to hire him to kill her husband, manage to walk free, either because their intended victims forgive them or due to insufficient evidence. Gary's double life begins to affect his teaching as well, with his students becoming more engaged and attentive in class. One day, Gary receives a new assignment involving a woman named Madison Figueroa Masters. Looking her up on Facebook, he notices that her public life seems to begin only after marrying her husband, Ray, and that she has no prior criminal history. Meeting her in a diner under the alias Ron, Gary learns that Madison wants Ray dead because she can no longer tolerate being married to him. Gary is immediately drawn to her. Rather than taking her money, persuades her not to go through with the murder. He advises her to keep the money and start a new life instead. This decision frustrates Claudette and Phil, who are disappointed that he let her go. Meanwhile, Jasper returns from suspension, only to find that the department now prefers Gary in the undercover role, further bruising Jasper's ego and reputation. Not long after, Madison texts Ron and invites him to a dog adoption fair, despite Gary being a lifelong cat person. At the park, Madison tells him she's moving forward with divorcing Ray. She observes that, beneath the intimidating hitman facade, Gary is warm, approachable, and unexpectedly great with both dogs and children. Their connection deepens, and the two begin dating. Gary chooses not to tell his superiors about their relationship, keeping Madison and Ron as his personal secret. While on a date with Madison, Gary and her are unexpectedly spotted by a drunken Ray and his friend. Enraged at seeing Madison with another man, Ray threatens to hit her. Before things escalate, Gary draws a gun, forcing Ray to back off. Later, as Gary and Madison grab a bite to eat, Gary grows uneasy when he notices Jasper nearby. Jasper approaches, greeting Gary as if they were old co-workers, carefully avoiding revealing Gary's real identity to Madison. Soon after, Gary is called in to pose as a hitman for a new client named Mike. To his shock, Mike turns out to be Ray, who hires him to kill Madison and her new boyfriend. Gary immediately turns the tables, revealing his true identity to Ray and intimidating him into leaving before he can incriminate himself. Concerned for Madison's safety, Gary goes straight to her home to warn her that Ray has put a target on her back. Not long afterward, at the police station, the sergeant informs Gary that Ray has been found dead in what appears to be a botched drug deal. Gary rushes to Madison to deliver the news, only for her to calmly confess that she shot and killed Ray after Gary warned her about the threat. Stunned, Gary admits that he was never actually a hitman and that his entire persona had been an act. Feeling betrayed, Madison furiously orders him to leave. The police quickly identify Madison as the prime suspect in Ray's murder after uncovering that Ray had recently increased his life insurance policy by $1 million, naming her as the sole beneficiary. They devise a plan for Gary to meet with her while wearing a wire in hopes of coaxing a confession, unaware that she already knows the truth about him. When Gary arrives at Madison's home, He subtly uses his phone to warn her that the police are listening in. Madison plays along flawlessly, firmly denying any involvement in Ray's death and successfully diverting suspicion, at least for now. Later, when Gary returns, he is startled to find Jasper waiting. Jasper reveals his intent to blackmail them for a cut of the insurance payout. Madison offers him a beer, but as Jasper rants about his plan, he begins to weaken. She has laced his drink. Worried about drugging a police officer, she turns to Gary for guidance. Calmly, Gary slips a plastic bag over Jasper's head, suggesting they stage his death as a suicide, noting that Jasper was already a loathed, drug-addicted cop no one would mourn. In that charged moment, Gary and Madison confess their love for each other. Moments later, Jasper takes his last breath. Years later, Gary is teaching in a much larger lecture hall, his class now thriving. He is married to Madison, and together they have 2 children and 2 dogs. One day, their daughter asks how they first met. They share a romanticized, innocent tale of meeting in a cafe and changing each other's lives, leaving out the grim reality. The film concludes with a tribute to the real Gary Johnson, who passed away in 2022, a beloved college professor, war veteran, devoted animal lover, practicing Buddhist, and a man who never took a life.